What's up, YouTubers? This is your boy, Big Metroid Fan 12, coming to you with another video game review. And in this review, we're going to talk about the game Castlevania Judgement, which was released on the Nintendo Wii as an exclusive by Konami and 18 and everything. And this is really the only fighting game in the Castlevania franchise. And pretty much the plot of the game is that a guy named Gilgamesh sent his servant, the Time Reaper, to go back in time to take out Dracula. And Adion, guess how you pronounce his name, found out about what Gilgamesh is trying to do, so he gathered up different champions from different time periods to stop him from finishes his plan to take out Dracula and stuff. Now, there are pretty much a total of 14 characters from the Castlevania franchise in Castlevania Judgment and stuff like Simon Belmont, Trevor Belmont, Grant from Castlevania 3, Dracula, Death, and other characters from pretty much different Castlevania games. I think it's from around 5 or 6 different Castlevania games that these characters come from and stuff. And pretty much like any other fighting game, everybody that's in this game have their own move list, and essentially their move list is pretty much based off of their appearances in different Castlevania games. You know what I'm saying? Like with Grant, if you played Castlevania 3, you're pretty much familiar with what he can do stuff like on wall, climbing, different stuff like that. But I don't think he does it in in this game at least. But like, as far as his attacks is concerned, Grant's move list is pretty much based off of what he can do in Castlevania 3 and stuff like that. I'll say same thing with say Simon in the various Castlevania games he's in, Trevor, I would say Alucard, and even not even Dracula is a playable character and stuff, but you do have to unlock him at some point, you know. He, but he since he was pretty much a non-playable character in previous Castlevania games, you can still his move list is still like based off of the previous games though. Now, pretty much as far as the controls are concerned, you can use the Wiimote and Nunchuck, the classic controller or the GameCube controller. You know what I'm saying? So you do have options with it, of course. And you pretty much, of course, most people who play, they have their own personal preference when it comes to one of these three controllers. You know what I'm saying? Uh, um, you can pretty much like with any other fight games, you can execute like different combos whether you're on the ground or in the air, stuff like that. Now, like pretty much each character have their own special attacks that they can use, and and pretty much, and they, of course, they're based on which character that you like to use and everything. Yeah, pretty much in each character have their own hyper skill, which pretty much which is their strongest move and everything, and pretty much you can do like depending on who you use, you can have up to 99 hits. You know what I'm saying? And the hyper skill pretty much delivers heavy damage. You know what I'm saying? Like with Simon, with his hyper skill, he can do 99 hits. You know what I'm saying? So pretty much if your opponent's health is down to a certain point, you can get a KO just like that. You know what I'm saying? And plus, one thing about the hyper skill is that it has like a meter, and it gets filled up by you like executing your moves, blocking the moves of your opponents, or your opponents blocking your moves, or you getting hit and stuff like that. And once you have it filled up, you can, of course, you can use it and everything. And a lot of times you have to be close up to actually use it when it's gets filled up and stuff. Now, another thing in this game that was worth noting is that a lot of the not a lot, but there are some secondary weapons that you can use from the Castlevania franchise, maybe mainly in the knife, the boomerang cross, the holy water, and the stopwatch and stuff. The main staples in terms of sub weapons and stuff like that. Now, as far as the modes are concerned, there are pretty much the story, arcade, castle versus survival, Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, training tutorials, accessories, galleries, and options, and to, connect to DS and stuff. Now, the story mode is pretty much the where the plot of the game really takes place. With it, you start off by choosing either Simon or a la carte and stuff, and with each character they have their own, pretty much their own story arc. Try to pretty much get the Dracula stuff and everything. Now, once you pretty much beat the story mode with a particular character, you can unlock other characters that's in the game and begin their story arc. And and with the arcade mode, it's pretty much your typical tournament style mode where you pick a character and you fight your way through different characters until you reach Dracula and stuff. And of course, Of course, you could compare this to like the recent like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and stuff. Now, I would say like four of the characters that's in the game are unlockables and stuff like Dracula and Death and stuff, who you will fight in the arcade mode and stuff, along with the story mode. Now, with the arcade and story mode, you can pretty much unlock different stuff. Well, as far as like outfits and characters and stuff like that, and what you actually unlock will honestly depend on which character that you pick once you like complete it and everything. Plus, another thing that I noticed that like with each character that you pick, whether it's the arcade mode or the story mode, stuff like that, and so on, there's like different color outfits for each character, which pretty much based on red, blue, green, and purple and stuff. Now, another thing that you can pick is the castle mode where you have to pretty much try to get to Castle Dracula and defeat him. You know what I'm saying? And you pretty much pick a particular character like the arcade mode and stuff like that. One thing about the castle mode is that each floor has a specific objective that you have to complete. You know what I'm saying? Like in one stage, you could the objective is to activate the not the counter but the hazards and stuff. In another, you have to collect like 4 hearts. Another stage, you have to collect like 3 hearts and stuff like that. So always keep that in mind once you like go into each section and stuff. Now the versus is the typical 2-player co-op where you battle another player in the best of the 3 rounds and stuff. And pretty much you either pick the versus 2-player or versus computer. Now, one thing that's worth noting in terms of the versus 2-player, um, if the first player is using a GameCube controller, you're gonna need a second one. Same thing with the Wiimote, nunchuck, and a classic controller. You know what I'm saying? You're using classic. This will first player using the classic controllers. The second player has to use it too. Now, pretty much, of course, you can pick your own characters, whether it's like Rant versus Simon, Trevor versus Dracula, whatever the case, you know. Now, then there's the survival, which is a gauntlet style battle, you know what I'm saying, where the goal is to try to beat um all the characters without losing, you know what I'm saying. It's pretty straightforward, you know what I'm saying, in that regard and everything. Now, pretty much then there's the Nintendo Wi-Fi where you could play other people online and stuff like that. Like you could have say Simon or Trevor versus somebody else who's using Dracula and stuff. And then there's the practice mode where you try to pretty much the goal is to try to perfect the you using the moves and combos that you for each character and stuff like that and everything. So try to perfect all of the combos that you can use with each character and stuff like that. And as far as the tutorial is concerned, it's pretty much where pretty much you allows you to get used to the controls. You know what I'm saying? And they divided it into beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and everything. Now with accessories, you pretty much view all the items that you unlock through the story mode, arcade mode, stuff like that, and you can put those. You can equip each character with one of those items, whether it's like sunglasses or a particular outfit or whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? Now, you can also view the artwork, soundtrack and stuff like that too. In the like the options and stuff, and you can pretty much set the game settings, control settings, and stuff like that. Now, far as to connect to the DS concerned, you can pretty much unlock different stuff that is not within. I'll say not within the game, but you would definitely need it for extra stuff that you can unlock. You know what I'm saying? There's some special bonuses. I don't know what they are because I don't have a Nintendo DS as of this recording, but I might get one just to see what the bonuses are. You know. Now, pretty much the graphics and design for Castlevania Legends are pretty good with some nice color palettes to it and everything. And to me, the dark tones pretty much are very consistent with the Castlevania franchise as a whole. You know what I'm saying? It's something that I really like about it. The controls and gameplay are pretty good and fluid and stuff like that. But it seems like the best controller to use would be the GameCube controller. To me, it's like the GameCube controller pretty much utilized the battle mechanic, the fight mechanics the best to me and everything. And the as far as the hit detection for the Hyperstone is concerned, it can be inconsistent, you know what I'm saying? Very it can be hit and miss and stuff. And it does really depend on which character you're using. And there's pretty much to me two main factors and stuff. It's like sometimes it can be too easy to miss, or at other times it can be too easy for the opponents to really counter it and everything. So that's something that I've pretty much noticed is about the Harper skill. You know what I'm saying? Even though I like the whole concept of it, you know. Now the soundtrack is pretty much the best aspect of Castlevania Judgment to me because they take music from previous Castlevania games like Castlevania, pretty much the first one, Castlevania 3, and others, because of the fact that the characters come from those specific games and stuff. But yeah, pretty much like a remixed versions of those particular games in terms of music and stuff. But there are some gripes that I do have with Castlevania Judgment, though. One of them is it has to do with the camera movement, due to the fact that it can be disorienting at times. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're like performing different attacks, whether it be like a regular attack, special moves, hyper. I would say it doesn't technically affect the hyper skill though, but the other moves it definitely can get disorienting at times. You know, and the other has to do with the fact that some of the characters can be cheating with their moves when you're fighting against the computer and stuff. And this is especially true for Dracula. Man, he be like popping all over the place and everything. You know what I'm saying? Making it very hard to hit him at times. You know, and to me, uh, Konami could have had like more stages and more characters from the Castlevania series in Castlevania Judgment. You know what I'm saying? Considering the number of Castlevania games that were released prior to Castlevania Judgment and stuff, and they could have had, I don't know, like at least like 20, somewhere between 20 and 25 and stuff. I would guess. You know what I'm saying? Now, with that being said, I can honestly say that Castlevania Judgment is not necessarily the best fighting game or the most innovative fighting game. I can honestly say that it's not necessarily the best Castlevania game overall. That title, of course, goes to like pretty much goes to Castlevania Symphony of the Night and stuff. But Castlevania Judgment is still a good game. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely playable and stuff like that. But I can still say a lot of the flaws that exist in the game are still noticeable nonetheless. You know, so my suggestion is to pretty much try it out to find out whether or not you like it and stuff like that. But as far as the score though, I definitely give it like a 7 out of 10. Things like the graphics and the gameplay are good, but there are other things that I mentioned that are noticeable. Mainly, some of the characters can be cheap with their moves when controlled by the computer, and the camera movements can be a little wonky and stuff. Now, with that being said, um, you can sound off in the comment section about Castlevania Judgment, whether you like it or not. If you notice like any other flaws that I didn't mention, you know what I'm saying? Whether whether which characters that you like that you if you played it, you know what I'm saying. With that, if you like this video, don't hesitate to click the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification button. This is your boy Big Metroid Fan 12 signing off.